It was 3:14 a.m. when the ambulance light smeared red across the rain-slicked pavement. I don't remember grabbing my coat. I don't remember unlocking the front door. Just the taste of copper in my mouth from biting my tongue too hard as I held Julian's blood-soaked head in my lap. The emergency room doors split open. 34-year-old male. Severe cranial trauma. BP crashing. I ran beside the gurney. I'm his wife, Seraphine Ward. I'm his wife. No one looked at me. They were already in motion, wheeling his body into surgery, voices clipped and cold. A nurse shoved a clipboard at me. Insurance. I handed over my phone. There's a fund. Emergency savings. I'll pay all up front. Just keep him alive. She nodded. We'll run it. I stood there for 10 minutes, dripping water onto the linoleum until the nurse returned, expression unreadable. Ma'am, the linked account shows a zero balance. My mouth dried up. That's impossible. I transferred $120,000 last year. Locked account. Two-factor security. Her tone didn't shift. It's gone. No. No. I opened my banking app. Loading. Buffering. Fingerprint scan. Access denied. My thumbprint had been replaced with a new biometric ID. My chest tightened. Julian had the flu 2 weeks ago. He hadn't touched the account. I did. Only me. Or so I thought. Another screen loaded. Transfer confirmed. $120,000. Marigold Equity, LLC. No reference. No memo. Just gone. The elevator doors hissed open behind me. She walked in like she owned the floor. Hair perfect. Heels clacking. A tailored trench coat that cost more than my car. Celeste Harlow. My mother-in-law. I came as soon as I heard, she said softly, brushing rain from her collar. Julian will pull through. He's strong, just like his father. I couldn't speak. She placed a gloved hand on my shoulder, eyes glistening with rehearsed empathy. You look exhausted, dear. I found my voice. Where's my money? Celeste blinked. Excuse me. My emergency fund. For this exact moment. It's gone. And the transfer name matches a shell company Odette listed on her home application. Her lips twitched. A micro smile. Seraphine. Now's not the time for accusations. I stepped back. Did you take it? She exhaled, slow and graceful. Odette needed a deposit to hold the property. It was time sensitive. You were too slow to act. I stepped in. You forged my biometrics. I protected this family. You endangered Julian's life. Her voice dropped an octave. You had no right to hoard that kind of money when my daughter, his sister, was scraping to build a future. You stole it. I reallocated it. That's not a decision you get to make. She stepped closer, her perfume cloying. You're in a hospital. Your husband is half alive. And I suggest very carefully you consider who's really holding the reins here. I shook. Every molecule in me screamed. But I couldn't collapse. Not now. Undo it, I hissed. Celeste's eyes were calm. If he dies, she whispered, that blood's on your hands, not mine. She turned, heels striking the floor like a metronome of control. I didn't watch her leave. I stared at my husband's name on the surgery board. Julian Harlow, or 2, status, critical. And I made a promise then. This wouldn't end in silence. It wouldn't end in shadows. No one steals my blood money and walks away, especially not family. The smell of antiseptic clung to my coat like shame. I sat at the corner of the hospital lounge, laptop open, hand shaking. Julian was in ICU, stable, but unconscious. Machines beeped steadily in the background, each one a metronome of dread. Two-step verification, I muttered, typing faster. Encrypted. Facial ID locked. The bank's homepage blinked, then loaded. Transaction history. Empty. No flags. No alerts. No breach. Only me. Only my credentials. But I never signed anything. Cut 2. Timestamped log from 3 days ago. Facial ID approval. Verified. I froze. The biometric profile had been accepted using a secondary profile. Mine. No Celeste's. I clicked details. A match. 93% facial correlation to account holder. Verified via in-app scan. Timestamp 2:13 p.m. Tuesday. I was in surgery all day that Tuesday. Wearing scrubs, mask, gloves. My phone locked in my locker. And yet, $120,000 had flown out clean and silent. I stood heart pounding. Pacing. People don't just steal money, I whispered to myself. They rewrite your existence and call it helping. Julian once told me, some families love with strings. Mine knots them into a noose. I never took that seriously. Until now. Cut scene. Ezra Haddad answered on the first ring. His voice was rough with sleep and instinct. You're not okay. Talk. I need you to dig, I snapped. Biometric theft. Shell company. My name's on a transaction I didn't authorize. I want you to blow it open. Who took it? Celeste. Through a company called Marigold Equity. Silence. I'll send you the articles of incorporation, I added. There's more. Odette used the money to lock down a property last Friday. She forged facial ID? Something like that. She cloned me. Digitally. Ezra cursed under his breath. That's federal. And Texas doesn't mess around with financial fraud. I closed the laptop. The room spun. You'll need a forensic analyst, he said. Someone who can trace every penny. I know a guy. Cut 2. Dim cafe in East Austin. 2 hours later. Cold coffee, warm tension. Linus Bauer slid a flash drive across the table. Marigold Equity is a shell, he said. Formed last month in Delaware. Tax anonymous. But the mailing address? Matches Odette's realtor application. Registered via IP from your in-law's estate. You can trace the money. I already did. A pause. You're not gonna like it. He tapped a few keys. The transfer originated from your account. On paper, you signed it. Digitally. Via biometric match. But the fingerprint overlay shows tampering. He spun the screen toward me. I isolated 2 facial scans used on your account within seconds of each other. One was clearly you. The other isn't. Subtle distortion. But this, he zoomed in, this mole? Not yours. My stomach twisted. Celeste mirrored me. Used a generative overlay. Masked with a pre-recorded blink pattern. Took someone skilled. This wasn't a sloppy job. Ezra leaned in. This wasn't an impulsive theft. It was a digital assassination. Cut 2. Hospital hallway. Late night. Lights flickering. Nurse Amanda waved me over. Your husband stirred earlier. Whispered something. I followed her inside. Julian's face was pale, lips dry. Eyes fluttering behind closed lids. He muttered. What did he say? I leaned in. Amanda hesitated. Something about signing. He said they made me sign. When I couldn't move. Took my hand. My blood turned ice. They'd taken power of attorney. They'd done it while he was sedated. I pulled up the state POA records on my phone. Scanned the log. Filed 2 days ago. Signed. Julian Harlow. Witnessed by Celeste Harlow. My jaw clenched. They buried a body, I whispered. And it was mine. Cut 2. Elevator mirror. I looked up. My reflection stared back. Drained, unfamiliar. Seraphine Ward had been replaced. Erased. I needed proof. I needed allies. I needed to break this open. But first, I had to break the silence. I emailed Ezra the full POA record. Subject line, round 1. and hit send. You don't need a lawyer. You need a war room. The chandelier above the ballroom looked like a noose made of diamonds. It glittered perfect cold. So did everyone else in the room. Austin Heritage Foundation Gala. Theme, Rescue the Voiceless. I adjusted the neckline of my black dress. No jewelry. No Ismail. Just armor. My heels clicked like gunshots across marble as I walked through the crowd of donors, developers, and liars in designer suits. I scanned the room. No sign of Celeste. Yet, Odette was center stage, surrounded by polished women holding flutes of champagne. She wore a silk cream gown, hair curled to perfection, and a Cartier bracelet I had never seen before. She laughed, threw her head back like nothing in the world could touch her. I slid through the crowd like a shadow, kept my head low, phone camera tucked into my clutch, recording live to cloud. Always record the rich in their own cage. Behind the champagne glass smiles, someone always cracks. I heard the house has a 2-story wine cellar, one woman said. Her mother helped seal the deal, another chimed in. Family support. So rare these days. I wanted to scream, rip the facade, but Ezra's words echoed. Hit them where they least expect it, in public, on their terms. I walked up, looked Odette in the eye. You enjoying your new place? I said. The conversation dropped like a guillotine. She blinked. Excuse me. The dream house. Paid in full. Not from savings, though. She hesitated, then smiled. You shouldn't be here. I have a +1. That's not what I meant. Then say what you mean. A low voice sliced in behind me. Ladies, this isn't the venue. Celeste. She glided in like smoke. Pale gray gown, hair pulled back, expression untouched. She placed a hand on my arm like we were old friends. Seraphine, darling. Let's not create drama where none exists. I pulled away. You faked my biometric data, used Julian's sedation to steal power of attorney, and you robbed me. Lower your voice. I think everyone here deserves to know what kind of woman they're applauding. Someone began filming. Celeste's smile didn't falter, but her grip on my wrist tightened. You're spiraling, she whispered. Don't mistake a family adjustment for betrayal. Say it louder, into the camera. You'll ruin your marriage. You already tried to ruin his life. The room froze. Piano music halted mid-note. Only the soft hum of champagne bubbles remained. A beat. Celeste turned. Release me. Let's talk in private. I followed her through the crowd, into the hallway behind the ballroom. Lights dimmed. Shadows longer. She spun on her heel. You want to destroy Odette? Over money. It wasn't hers. She needed a future. Julian needed to live. Her mask slipped. Your husband was a mistake I tried to fix. He never should have married beneath his name. I pulled the flash drive from my clutch, held it between 2 fingers. This has your confession, your face, your voice, your words. You wouldn't dare. I already have. I pressed send. To Ezra. To Linus. To 3 reporters on standby. We returned to the ballroom. The silence had shifted. Then the screen above the bar flickered. HDMI connected. Footage played. Celeste's voice. It's her fault for being so trusting. And so replaceable. Gasps. Faces turned. Odette's glass fell. Shattered. Celeste froze. I walked past them. Everyone whispered now. Some backed away. Others pulled out phones. Odette stepped forward. You set us up. You did this to yourself, I said. Celeste whispered. You have no idea what you've started. I turned over my shoulder. You just set fire to the house of Harlow. Now be ready for the smoke. Now they'll stop hiding. They'll start hunting. The next morning, I woke to pounding. Not in my head. On the door. I reached for my phone, 4:42 a.m. The peephole showed two men in suits. Unmarked badges. No uniforms. Federal Energy. No coffee. I opened it. Seraphine Ward, the taller one asked. Yes. I'm Agent Roy Beckett. This is Agent Nolan Fry. We're with Financial Crimes Division, U.S. Treasury. We'd like to ask you a few questions about a wire transfer linked to Marigold Equity. No warning. No lawyer. Just war. We can talk here, I said, stepping aside. Cut to kitchen table. Black coffee. Cold air through the cracked window. Papers on wood. Beckett opened a folder. Photos. Transfer logs. Property deeds. You're listed as the originator of the $120,000 transfer, he said. I didn't authorize it. I was digitally impersonated. I've already filed a theft report and delivered forensic video to the press. Nolan didn't blink. We're aware. The video went viral, but intent doesn't erase signature. They cloned my face. My fingerprint. That's what your tech contact said. Linus Bauer. You spoke with him? We questioned him, but his credentials don't hold in federal court unless verified. Check the hospital footage. Celeste visited Julian while he was unconscious. She used that window to get power of attorney signed. Fraud. Beckett flipped a page. A photocopy. Julian's shaky signature. Legally, this holds, unless proven forged under duress, which means you'll need him to testify. I will. And if he doesn't wake... Silence. A wind chime outside snapped in the breeze. There's more, I said. I pulled up my phone, swiped through encrypted screenshots, time-stamped. One email stood out. From a fake domain, assets at emergentshare.us. Subject, accelerated transfer authorization, Harlow Estate. Below Celeste's name, Odette C.C. Ed. This email requested emergency release of a secondary account tied to Julian's health proxy. Nolan squinted. So they didn't just steal it. They created a fake emergency to access the fund. Exactly. Beckett nodded. That's where it gets complicated. You weren't the only victim. What? He placed another photo down. An older man. Black suit. Blood on his collar. George Randall. CEO of a partner firm working with Odette's new development deal. Found unconscious 2 days ago. Same pattern. Digital theft. Facial spoof. Signed away $480,000. I stared. So this is bigger. Marigold Equity is a front. And someone's using family proximity to scrub accounts clean. I exhaled. So I was just the first body. Beckett stood, or the only one still breathing. Cut to hospital parking lot. 9:17 a.m. Rain again. Everything felt like it was melting. I sat in my car, opened Julian's old texts. I needed answers. There, 6 weeks ago. A string of messages to someone named AMC. Julian, not comfortable. Feels off. Celeste insisted. AMC, you're overthinking. Julian, her lawyer's name is Trace Palmer, wants me to speed up paperwork. What's the rush? AMC. Initials. Not a name. A contact with no number. Hidden. I screenshotted everything. Called Ezra. Find out who AMC is, I said. Julian texted them right before everything started. I'm on it. Also trace the name Trace Palmer. Lawyer. Celeste used him to push paperwork through. I'll call you back in an hour. I hung up. Watched the rain drag like veins down the windshield. My phone buzzed. One new message. Blocked number. You don't know who you're messing with. Stop now. I stared at the screen. Fingers numb. Someone was watching. Closer than I thought. I dialed Linus. No answer. I tried again. Voicemail. Then Ezra called. You're not gonna like this. Try me. AMC is Ashley Marie Cordero, Julian's ex-fiancée. The one who ghosted him 8 years ago. What? She works for a family office, Harlow Holdings. That's Celeste's back channel. And guess who her boss is? I didn't answer. Trace Palmer. Corporate counsel. Everything ties back. I couldn't breathe. Julian never mentioned her, I whispered. Well, maybe there's a reason. Ezra paused. Then, there's one more thing. What? She visited him at the hospital. Yesterday. While you were at the gala. My vision blurred. She signed in under your name. The hospital lights flickered as I walked down the corridor, a stuttering pulse that matched the pounding in my chest. Someone had signed into Julian's room under my name. Someone who knew my movements, my patterns, my absence. Someone who wanted access. I pushed the stairwell door open and slipped inside. My voice echoed off the concrete walls. AMC visited him, I whispered. Ashley Marie Cordero. Of all people. The ex-fiancée. The ghost from Julian's past. Now working under his mother's payroll. Back in his orbit, like a planet pulled by gravity she didn't deserve. Cutscene. I unlocked the safe behind our bedroom dresser. The metal clicked open. Inside, a flash drive, an old leather notebook, and the one object I promised myself I'd never touch again. A compact pistol, matte black, a relic from my father's final warning. When the world corners you, don't curl. Strike. I holstered it under my jacket. Tonight wasn't about violence. It was about leverage. I scrolled through the messages between Julian and AMC, reading them again and again. The patterns were clear. Pressure disguised as reassurance. Manipulation dressed as concern. And his last message to her? Celeste says it'll protect Seraphine. But something feels wrong. My stomach twisted. Cutscene. Warehouse District. East 7th, rusted metal. Chain link fences. The kind of place where money changes hands without witnesses. Linus texted earlier. Meeting arranged. Roscoe won't talk unless he thinks you're alone. I parked. Wind rattled old signage. Every shadow twitched like a living thing. The warehouse door creaked open. Roscoe stood there, Odette's fiancé. Fresh suit. Cheap cologne. Eyes darting. Nervous. You came alone, he asked. Mostly. He swallowed. They're not gonna like this. Good. I stepped closer. Tell me everything. His hands shook as he reached for a cigarette. Celeste, she's been bleeding accounts for months. Not for Odette. Hell, Odette thinks it's all a gift. But Celeste? She's covering tracks. What tracks? A 3-year audit. He inhaled sharply. She siphoned money from the Harlow Foundation. Hundreds of thousands. Thought she could replace it before anyone noticed. Then your fund popped up like a miracle. My breath left my lungs. She stole my surgery money to fix an older crime. Exactly. And Odette? She's a pawn. Always has been. He flicked ash onto the concrete. Look, Celeste doesn't care about houses or weddings. She cares about survival. And you? You were never supposed to fight back. She counted on you folding. You think I don't know that? He met my eyes. There's more. She's planning to run. My heart slammed. Run where? Out of the country. New Zealand. Property already scouted. Flight on standby. She and Odette both. And the money? Moved again. Offshore account under Black Marble Incorporated anonymous ownership. Untraceable unless you get a court order before she melts it down. I stepped closer. Who helped her set up the account? Roscoe hesitated. Trace Palmer. AMC's boss. Celeste's legal shadow. Julian's coercer. Every thread tightened around my throat. Cutscene. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. A whisper. Stop chasing ghosts, Seraphine. They're not the ones who'll kill you. The line cut. I stared at the screen, feeling watched. The parking lot too still. The wind too quiet. Roscoe flicked his cigarette away. She'll do worse if she thinks you're a threat. She already does. He nodded. Then you need to hit her fast, before she disappears. Cut scene. Back at the hospital. The hallway smelled like bleach and fear. Julian was half awake, eyelids fluttering. Machines beeped in arrhythmic pulses. I sat beside him. Jules, I whispered. Did you sign anything? With Celeste. He barely nodded. His voice a rasp. They took my hand, moved the pen, told me it was insurance for you. Tears burned behind my eyes. Not grief, not fear. Fury. He tried to squeeze my fingers. I'm sorry. No, I whispered. I'm done apologizing for their sins. He blinked. She won't stop. I don't need her to stop, I said. I need her exposed. Cut scene. I sent every file, Roscoe's recording, the offshore account logs, the forged biometric data, to Ezra and Linus. Subject line, set the trap. Tighten it. Drop it. Ezra called. If we move right now, we can freeze Black Marble's assets. But this won't just bring Celeste down. It'll drag Odette with her. They made their choices. War changes people, Seraphine. So does survival. I closed the call. Sirens suddenly blared outside the hospital. Blue lights strobed across the windows. My phone pinged again. Ezra. They tried to move the money. Came in routing request filed. You have 12 hours before everything disappears. I straightened. Zip up my jacket. They're not running, I whispered. They're resetting the board. Rain sliced the skyline like static. Each drop struck the courthouse windows with surgical precision. I walked in with Ezra at my side. USB drive in my hand. The weight of 100 betrayals at my back. Nolan was already inside. AMC too. Their eyes met mine. Hers flinched, his narrowed. Neither spoke. The room buzzed with tension. Reporters packed behind courtroom railings. Public interest had exploded overnight. Truth burns louder than any lie, I murmured. Ezra gave me a sideways glance. It also leaves scars. The judge, firm and clinical, called it to order. And then it began. The tapes. The fund transfers. The biometric fraud used on Julian's half-conscious hand. The offshore account under Black Marble Incorporated. The sudden mortgage payments made from Donor Anonymous Trust, traced back to the Harlow Foundation. When AMC took the stand, she stammered through rehearsed denial until confronted with the voicemail she left for Celeste. The girl's fund is the only clean pot left. Take it now, or the feds will eat us alive. Silence hit like a detonation. Celeste was absent. Health complications, her attorney claimed. But the judge wasn't moved. Cut scene. 2 hours later, federal agents intercepted her at McCarran International. One-way ticket. Passport under her late husband's name. A briefcase full of burner phones and jewelry. They cuffed her on the spot. Odette watched from a limo window, makeup cracked, innocence gone brittle. Her mother's lies, now hers to carry. I didn't know, she whispered to me outside the courthouse. Not knowing isn't innocence, I replied. It's just negligence, dressed in silence. She looked down. They told me you'd never fight back. I smiled. They told me the same thing. Cut scene. Julian was discharged 2 weeks later, his body frail, but his grip steady in mine. We returned home to silence. No flowers, no apologies, just quiet. Sometimes, peace is the loudest sound. I pulled the blinds closed that night, flipped the lock, let the world stay out. For once it was safe to. You regret it? He asked, his voice soft. No, I said. I regret trusting people who fed on silence. I stared at the fire crackling in the hearth. Sometimes, I added, you have to burn the house to expose the termites. Cutscene. I didn't keep the surgery fund. The government froze it as evidence, then returned it post-trial. But I had a different use now. I founded the Sealed Fund, a program protecting emergency assets for vulnerable women, victims of family theft and coercion. Linus helped secure the paperwork. Ezra managed security. Roscoe turned state's witness, entered federal protection. Somewhere in Utah, he's learning how to make things grow instead of watching them rot. And Celeste? Sentenced to 12 years minimum. Odette never visited her. Not once. Sometimes guilt skips a generation. Sometimes it settles in. Cutscene. A year passed. I walked through the halls of the new foundation. Glass walls glowing under Nevada sun. I paused by a quote engraved in the lobby, one Julian picked. Those who survive don't forget. They build. I touched it lightly. My scars didn't define me. They guided me. Family can break you, but the pieces, they still cut deep enough to fight back. And when you fight, make sure the blade doesn't just slice. Make sure it carves truth. Because when the truth finally bleeds through the silence, that's not the end. That's the reckoning.